This is part 2 of dimensioning our sketches for the 3D hollow cube. From the previous video, I went into some details about how to dimension each of these shapes. For this video here, I'm just going to go through and actually dimension these as I would actually do this for real, if this was my own project. Remember guys that there's more than one way to do this, as long as you follow some simple rules, being that you use your extension and dimension lines, you make sure that your dimensions are on the outside of the shape, and you dimension enough so that you have all the information you need without dimensioning every single spot. So like for example, from the previous video we talked about how that we can find how long this one is, this side right here, by subtracting this part from that part, and that tells us. Same thing with this. We can find out this portion by subtracting the total, which is 1 inch, from the 3/4. So as you guys are doing this, be creative with it, but make sure that you add enough dimensions and you follow the rules that we talked about. So I'm just going to go from here, and you guys can just watch. Feel free to fast forward as you need to. Okay, so far I've got the overall measurement. I've shown what this part is. From here I can find out how long this piece is, and I can also find out how long that is. 1 inch minus a ½ inch gives me that. Same thing for the other side. So those are both 1/4. That's going to be 3/4. And then what I think I'm going to do is I'm just going to add an overall dimension over here. So now as I look at it, I've got my overall. I can figure out what this side is just by subtracting those two, and I can figure out what this one is by subtracting the 3/4 from the 1 inch. So that's the second one. Third shape. And I know that this is 3/4 because I have 1, 2, 3 squares. And you're going to find this is a pretty easy one to do. Extension lines. Let's actually move this over just a little bit. So over here, I'm going to make sure I add a dimension in from this point to that point. That's going to be 3/4. And then I can do the overall one past it over here. That looks a little bit better. And our final one, so we got 1/4, 3/4. We'll do an overall dimension right over here at 1 inch. So when we look at this drawing now, we have our overall dimensions. We can, for example, figure out what this one is just by subtracting the 3/4 from the 1 full inch. And we can do the same thing for some of the other ones, like this one right over here. Last one, same concept. Just start, pick a spot, and keep going with it. Extension line. This side right here is 1/2 inch. Extend that out further. From here to here, I know is 3 squares, that's 3/4. And then we'll do an overall dimension just to show it. Okay, it's 1 full inch. It's going to be 1/4. Three-fourths, and then let's do this. And we got our overall dimension over here of 1 inch. So if I subtract this from that, that tells me what that is. And then lastly, I just have to dimension a couple of these sides, so that way we can figure out the rest of it. That's my first one, that's 1/4, because that's 1 square. I'm going to go past that a little bit more to show the second side. That's going to be 1/2. And then this last one, I don't have to do, because I know that this 1/2 inch subtracted from the full inch equals this piece, this 1/2 inch. So again, just to show you all 4 of them dimensioned. This is from video 1. We did this one over here, so you can take a look at it. We got the plus piece, and then our final one right over here. So that is dimensioning, and we're going to take these dimensions later and we're going to put those right into the computer to create each of these individual parts.